and welcome to Tales from the Midnight Diary. My name's Gemma, and here on this channel I share lots of snippets of behind the scenes at an indie dyers in Kent, and this particular podcast is my normally weekly creative chat about all the creative things I've been getting up to. If you are a new viewer, welcome, you're very welcome here. If you are a returning viewer, thank you once again for your patience. I feel like I'm saying that a lot lately, but it's great to have you back. I have missed talking with you. All the places you can find me are right down in the description box, including my website, my PayHip store where you can get my patterns, website where you can get my yarn, Instagram, all the places that if you wanted to, you could find out a little bit more about life at the Midnight Diary. Right. Keeping the intro short and sweet this week. First of all, let me address the fact that I've been off for the past couple of weeks, and also why we're in a slightly different setup to normal. So, as you all know, unless you're new, hi, I am expecting a little one. And that has come with some challenges and complications, which, to be honest, were expected. Many of you will know about my daughter, and managing those has been a bit of a challenge. I'm very lucky, I'm very well looked after. Myself and the baby are both well. But I did end up being signed off the day job for the last 3 weeks, and I wasn't feeling well enough to sit and record. I've barely knit. But yes, so there's not a lot of creative content to share with you this week. What I'm going to share with you instead is a mini giveaway. A discount code for you guys because you're my friends, and 2 finished objects. And then I did a little poll on Instagram and Facebook at the beginning of the week to say we're going to do a bit of an Ask Me Anything. So it's a bit of a chatty one. So without further ado, let's start with what I'm wearing, because it is indeed a finished object. So this is the Ivy tunic, which is designed by Maria Walters, who goes by Knitway. And this was a test knit that was meant to be done by the 9th of June. I done all of it apart from the almost all of it apart from the crochet, but Maria was fantastic and very understanding that I needed a little bit more time. Waiting rooms in hospitals, excellent places for knitting reams of stocking stitch or stockingette, depending where you hail from. So the idea is it's a tunic, predominantly knit, but with crochet details on the neckline, the sleeves, and I don't know if I can't hold this up. It's very oversized, but it's quite fitted on me. But basically this same detail is on the hemline as well. So I tested the size for the 42-inch bust, and I used Pima cotton sorry, I'm going to yawn. And the pattern called for a double knitting weight cotton yarn. Although on Ravelry I see it says worsted, but I got gauge. So I dyed up this colourway, which I have called Gems Blue, because to me this is the perfect blue. And I dyed 8 skeins, I think, or 7 skeins. I think I dyed 7 skeins, and I played Yarn Chicken to do the last sleeve while watching Wimbledon with my friend the other day, around at her house on a big screen. Hooray. I saw poor Emma, bless her. And I just finished it with that much to spare. Like the ball was that sort of size, not that much yarn, that would be crazy. And then I even sat and wove in most of the ends. So let me show you it in all its glory, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about it. Okay, so I did say I had woven in most of the ends. There are still a few dangling here, but as you can see, it is a great length. It comes past my bum, which is fab. This is unblocked, as you can see by my flippy bottom. I'll turn the other way to see it better. Yes, there you go. So I've got a bit of a flippy bottom, but I kind of like the way it flares. It is oversized, it's got lots of room, and the reason that I chose to test knit this was because I knew that I would be 6-7 months pregnant in the summer, and I wanted something light but hand knit to wear, something that would last me through the pregnancy and beyond. The one thing I haven't done is the belt. This does come with a crocheted belt, and I haven't done that because at the moment, frankly, I'm not going to want to wear it. I might revisit it in the future. So you can see it's a really good length, covers my booty, and lots of room for Bump, who, as you can see, is busy growing very bump shaped there. It looks a bit like a swallowed football at the moment, doesn't it? So yeah, so that's good, and there's lots more room for Bump to expand into as well. So it makes it the ideal garment to wear to work. The Pima cotton itself is, I can show you the hem detail now. There we are. Pretty. The Pima cotton itself is really, really soft. I keep stroking it, which just looks really strange. And although it's a weighty yarn, which gives it this nice drape, it is not hot to wear at all. Go, let me sit back down again. Right, so yeah, you can see the detail there, which I just love. It's such a nice way of finishing it, the combination of knit and crochet. And obviously on the sleeves, I was slightly concerned the sleeves might be a bit tight. I do have larger arms, but actually it's really comfortable, and I haven't been able to wait to wear it. I was so looking forward to recording a podcast. So that is finished object number 1. You can get it through Ravelry, definitely. I'm not sure if there's anywhere else that Maria is selling it. I will try and find out for you if you need an off Ravelry link, but I will put her name and Instagram down below. And then you can choose whether you click through to her Ravelry store or not. I don't want anyone to be taken by surprise. So yes, I've got a feeling that I'm going to be wearing this a lot. Would I love another one? Yes. Am I going to make it? No. It was great. It just took a really, really long time. I actually almost finished it when just before I recorded the last podcast. Oh, I left the stitch markers in. Hang on, let's have a look at this. So if I stand up again, oops, that stitch marker is where it was last time I podcast, and obviously I've done all of that. But that last bit took me an incredibly long time to do. I don't know why. I think, well, because I was off and I'd lost my mojo and I was just feeling a bit meh. These things happen. The other finished object I have for you is my brother's baby blanket. Now this is ready to be blocked. I made the mistake of leaving it pinned upright on a board, and my cats have been rubbing their faces against it. So it's a bit covered in cat hair, so I will amend that. But this is a honeycomb blanket pattern that came in an issue recently of Knit Now. I believe it's Knit Now. And oh look, my face has just gone really, really white, really blown me out. So it's Aran weight, which isn't something you would usually do for a little baby, but it's a small blanket, so you wouldn't fold it over and double it up. And my brother's baby is due 3 weeks before mine, so due in October. So this is perfect pretty much. So I've used Debbie Bliss Falkland Merino Aran in black and grey. I think the grey is called charcoal. And it just creates this fun honeycomby spiderwebby effect, which would really suit my brother and sister-in-law down to the ground. And with an October baby, one must embrace the spiderwebs and all things spooky. So there we are. It's not, this is just the prep for it being blocked, and I don't have enough blocking pins. If you can hear a commotion, and there are magpies that have taken up residence in my back garden, and I don't like my cats. So anytime my cats go into the garden, they just start screaming. It really winds the cats up because it sounds like they're laughing at them. So there we are. There's that. Oh, again, it was a nice blanket to do. I love the interest created by the slip stitches. It is deceptively, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. There we go. It is deceptively simple. I've shown this on a previous podcast, but they are just slip stitches. So there's no cutting of yarns and things like that. I don't have enough blocking pins at home to block this effectively because it's now looking very pointy and wavy. But unblocked, it just rolled up and I couldn't show it to you. So there we are. I'm going to give it a steam to start it off. And I'll see if I need to full on wet block it or not afterwards. We'll see what happens. For tips on how to block your knitwear fast, I have a 2-minute Tuesday video demonstrating just how I use my iron to steam block. So if you're interested, I'll pop the link down there, or you can find it on my channel on the playlist 2-minute Tuesday. What else has been going on in Midnight Dyery land? Well, I started a very special commission. I can't really dye yarn at the moment So obviously that's massively impacting my business. I'm not able to put lots of new things in the shop. There are some lovely things in the shop, and the Pima cotton is in there as well. I'm going to put a discount code underneath this video for you to use if you are a YouTube viewer to get money off my cotton on my web shop. I'm not going to advertise that anywhere else, so it's just you guys who come and watch me. Thank you very much. Yeah, so there are lots of lovely bits in my shop, but I'm very limited as to what I can do. And obviously, as I get more towards maternity leave, I will be dyeing less. So get yourself to the shop if you don't want to miss out. But I have been able to take on a small commission because I have a long turnaround. And basically, my husband or a friend hefts all the buckets around for me. I literally sit on a stool and gently pour colour on prepped skeins of yarn. Obviously, I can't do that much because it relies on other people a lot and their generosity of time. But I started a very special project with a friend. She has a flock of Wensleydale sheep. It's the same flock as I showed you the video of in episode 4, I think. A lamb called Lara, I think it was called. And they're Wensleydale fleece. I'm dyeing a blend of Wensleydale BFL and alpaca. And she came round and we spent a little bit of time happily dyeing. I sat on my stool, she did all the work. Not sure how that works for a commission, but she wanted to learn about the process and did some dyeing there. So I will put some pictures up of the process if I can get her to send me them in time. I've got a couple of pictures, but not many. And so we came up with 3 colourways, so that's really exciting. And it felt good to be at the dye pots. I haven't been able to do it really at all. I've done none of my own dyeing since the last shop update at all. Although I'm hoping to do some tonight for the collab club. There was meant to be a live dye session tonight, which is Friday, but my husband is playing an online game with his friends, and it's a once monthly thing. They normally do it the first Friday of the month, and it gets a bit loud. Even though it's just my husband with his headphones, because they're all playing online. But they've moved it to this week, so I'm kind of glad actually, because I'm really knackered. So that's that in Midnight Dyery land. I also have a couple of new pattern releases. I have released both patterns from March's Cozy Box. So that is those are the Penelope mitts and the New Leaves mitts, a knit and crochet pattern respectively. And yesterday I released the crocheted railings cowl. I'm subscribing to the Done is Better Than Perfect at the moment. It should have been released in December, and then I thought, no, I want to finish the collection. I want to do a mini collection. I want there to be mitts. I want there to be a hat. And so I left it. And then yesterday, it wasn't one of the hottest days of the year, in my defence, but yesterday, as we're approaching middle of July, I decided that'd be the perfect time to publish a chunky cowl pattern. Anyway, I'll pop some pictures up if I haven't already. It's really nice and cozy. I don't have any of my chunky yarn in stock. I'm hoping to before the winter. We shall see. It very much depends on what sells in my shop and what new stock I can afford to get in, being brutally honest. But yes, there's some new patterns there for you. And the old school socks, no, the playground socks, are going to be coming out at some point. I've started, basically what I'm doing because I can't dye yarn is I am focusing instead on my other things like my design work. I have obviously been able to dye the cozy boxes because they are ordered way in advance. And they went out with the exception of one box, and that's yours, Maddie. And that's because you've got 2 boxes. You got last month's as well, or last quarter's as well. And I need a special box to send them in. And my local post office has run out and have told me to come back tomorrow. So I'm going to go back tomorrow and hopefully they've got the right size box and then I can get it shipped to you. So I'm really sorry, Maddie, I love you. I'm really enjoying the pyrography, actually. I bought a new tool for pyrography. So if you don't know, pyrography is the art of wood burning, and use, I'll try and get some footage of my actual tools and possibly a bit of video. If you've ordered, actually I have got a video, so if you've ordered the cozy boxes, shut your eyes, while I'm talking about this, because if it hasn't arrived yet, you'll see what your coaster was. And for the cozy boxes, I pyrograph coasters. And I was working with a very cheap, basic one from Hobbycraft, which is fine. There is nothing wrong with cheap and basic. It didn't seem to make sense to me to spend 50, 60 quid on a tool that I might not want to use, on a skill that I might hate or be rubbish at. As it happens, I love burning things. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe it explains why I'm friends with Julia. As it happens, I absolutely love it. And this tool is okay, but it's incredibly hard work. Each coaster took me around 2 to 2.5 hours. So, oh, time to check my blood glucose level. Back in a sec. Sorry, my life is currently ruled by alarms. Where were we? Yeah, no, so each coaster was taking me around 2.5 hours to make. So if I was going to sell a coaster, it would cost in the region of £20, which is ludicrous. It is an artwork and it does take a lot of effort, but it shouldn't take that much effort. The other thing is I only had 3 nibs, and so it was hard to get a range of different effects. A lot of them went wrong. The handle itself heated up way too much. Even though it had a protective rubber thing at the bottom, I would still burn my hands using it. And there wasn't a proper stand for it. And it actually last week fell off, landed on the rug, melted the rug, which is fine. I'm not that passionate about the rug. And the smell made me so sick of the melting plastic. I ended up with a massive headache and I just thought, blow this. I've got to buy a decent tool. I love what I'm doing. It's good to have a range of things to offer you guys. I want to do notions boxes and little, hangings and twee things like that. That I can do certainly during the rest of this pregnancy and beyond, hopefully. And after umming and ahhing, I bought this baby. It's an absolute beaut and I love it. So, that's my heat gun for making ball bands. That's the little video clip I have at the top of the episode sometimes. So, okay, the actual gun itself, the actual soldering iron piece itself is in the kitchen, so I'll grab that in a second. But it comes with this machine and you can choose the temperature it goes up to, whereas you couldn't on my other one, with an on-off switch, which is good because once you plugged the other one in, it was on. And the major difference between my last one and this one are the nibs. So this comes with 20 burning tips. Now, where the other ones were solid, these ones are, am I going to get that to focus? Well, it's not going to focus very well, but these ones are wire ones and there are 20 different ones, which means I can actually get a whole load of different effects and techniques on there. So shut your eyes now, cozy box people, because I'm going to actually show a picture of the completed coaster. So if you are waiting on your cozy box, Erin, Maddie, shut your eyes while I show this off. But here's a picture of it, and you can see the level of detail I was able to get with this new tool was just incredible. I'm so thrilled with it. And they were so fast to do. It still took me a long time to do all 6. It took me, I did it over a couple of afternoons because I can't sit in one position for very long. But I did all the writing first. And so the writing for all 6 coasters took me about an hour and a half. And then the pictures took me slightly longer because obviously they're really detailed. So they took me about 3 hours for 6 coasters. So overall, 4.5 hours to do 6 coasters versus 2.5 hours per coaster. That is a huge difference and means that if I want to offer these in my shop, which I am hoping to, I'm not going to tell you when though, because you know what I'm like with deadlines. I set them, they're all self-imposed. I set them and then I sit and smile as they pass me by. I wish I could have said I could come up with that one, but it was actually Nikki of Tea Impossibilities who said that, and it's really stuck with me because I'm like, yeah, girl, that's me. So moral of the story is, if you're loving something, buy the correct tools, because it made a huge difference. So that has been really good fun. And that's it really for Tales from Midnight Dyery, sort of that sort of thing, side of things. But I have lots of questions to answer. So how about I get myself a cup of coffee, you grab your knitting or crochet or macrame or sewing or whatever it is, and I'll meet you back here in a sec. Hello, Gemma from the future, coming back to talk to you about Stationery Geek. So I have stumbled across, on the wonders of Instagram, this independent company called Stationery Geek. And as you might expect, they make stationery, they love stationery, they're a bit geeky about it, and this is no bad thing. So they actually put out a call for brand ambassadors on Instagram. And I was like, hell yes, yes please, sign me up. And then I thought, haven't actually bought anything from them before, probably should. So I did. I bought the Book Lover's Journal for my friend, and the cardstock is fantastic. I won't go into that because this is a knitting podcast, not a book podcast. And I bought these, my knitting whip card. They also do them for crochet. And it's got project name, start date, etc, down below, yarn colours, you know. But what I like about them is they are really good cardstock. So if you tie that onto your project, that is not just going to rip straight out. And I got one for me, and I also bought a pack for you guys. So Stationery Geek have chosen me to be a brand ambassador, which I'm so excited about. And they have given me a code for you to use in their store. And it's basically Midnight's Friends. So I'll put it here for you, and you can use that to get 10% off any purchase with Stationery Geek. Don't believe it's one per customer, don't believe it expires. There's the code there. The other thing is I've got a pack here for you, and what I want to know from you to win this down below in the comments is what is your favourite piece of stationery and why? And why do you need these? We all know why I need them, but why do you need them? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so I've gone for, I've lost it, water instead of coffee in the end. I need to keep hydrated. But I hope you've got a beverage and are settled in for a chat and a bit of good old nosiness. So let me just pull up the questions that people asked. Excuse me. Okay. Right, where's my screenshots? Okay, so some of these are really quick to answer, so that's good. Knitting Purple asks, what are you reading? Nothing. I am literally reading nothing at the moment. I binged the Agatha Raisin series by MC Beaton that a friend gave me. Until I ran out of books. There are just a couple missing in the middle, and I'm one of these that like to read them in sequence. And I've read nothing since. I've basically got no attention span for it. I've had a bit of a book hangover. Although, no, did I read this before or after the Agatha Raisin series? I might have read it afterwards. There's a fantastic book called Rebel Heiress, and I can't remember the name of the author off the top of my head, but I'll pop it down below. And it's about Eleanor Goodrick, who lived in the late early 1600s, and very unusually for a woman at the time. Well, I don't know if it was unusual for women to be interested in biology and natural history at the time, but certainly it was frowned upon. So uniquely, she had this really keen interest in natural history and wasn't afraid to show it. Early on in the book, she wants to know what happens to a duck after it's died if it's not plucked and roasted. And so she squirrels it away in her room and keeps it warm in blankets. And you can imagine the state of it when the chambermaid finds it a little while later. So I picked this book up from the works years ago. It was one of their cheapy ones, and I thought, it's just some sort of historical romance fiction nonsense. Was I wrong? It is a so well researched historical fiction. So Eleanor Goodrick was an actual person, and she was friends with people who actually went on to found the British Museum, and the butterfly specialist whose name I now can't remember. but obviously as a woman she couldn't sort of overtly, openly explore what was going on. And at the very beginning of the book, well, no, a bit later on, so you discover people actually are deeply suspicious of women who are interested in science. And the way in which she was going about it, she wanted to know how butterflies came about. And all these men had these theories, and there was this theory of metamorphosis, but no one had actually proved it. And she set out to do that. But it drew a lot of, obviously, suspicion from the village that she lived in. And you can imagine where that went in those days. It was an absolutely fantastic book, and it turns out that the marsh fritillary, which is a real butterfly, was named for Eleanor Goodrick. So fritillary refers to the kind of checkerboard pattern you get, and marsh is because where she lived was marshland. And again, around that time, over the previous sort of 100 years, loads of marshes had been drained to make way for cropland. And that was very controversial as well, because obviously you've then got the situation where you are divvying up land and having to pay tithes for the land, when actually you kind of, I don't know, maybe you had to pay tithes anyway, but basically your land was no longer your own, sort of thing. It became a tenant farmer type situation. So that was controversial as well. It was so well written. There were times when I laughed, there were times when I howled, and I came out of it feeling like I'd really been through something. But I highly recommend it. It is available online. I'm sure it's available in places other than Amazon if you so choose. But yeah, that was really, really good. If you have any other recommendations for me, let me know, because I'm currently in a book hangover and don't want to read anything. Knitting Purple also asks, do you ever plan on dyeing fibre? Yes, I do. So, I was talking to you earlier about dyeing my friend's yarn from her flock, the commission. I've sort of suggested that wouldn't it be fun to keep a little bit of the fleece back and have a go at carding it and preparing it in bats ourselves, and and so we're talking about that. So there is a possibility that I will be dyeing that fibre, and it's so brilliant to be able to dye rare breed yarns. Wensleydale is a fantastic yarn to work with, but it is a rare breed sheep, and the black Wensleydale is even rarer. What I was dyeing was white Wensleydale. But as a dye, you don't often get to work with that base. It's not very commercially available because obviously it's a rare breed. So it's very exciting to me to be able to do that. So yeah, I definitely want to have a go at dyeing fibre. Would I do it for the shop? Honestly, not sure. I'd love to know how much interest there is in the Midnight Dyery fibre collection. Drop me a comment below if that's something that you would be interested in. So Ruth also asks, what does your average working day look like? So this will vary dramatically from person to person, business to business. At the moment, the Midnight Dyery is my business and I'm very passionate about it, but I also have a day job to support my income. It's been a very tough few years. Businesses starting out, they tend to take a while to pick up, and I'm not at the stage yet where I can afford to leave my day job, especially not at the moment in the current economic climate where I've lost all my European customers. I didn't switch on Euro posting in January, although I could have done, and I did get all my ducks in a row to get in charge of it, on top of it, because I was vaguely aware that there was going to be some sort of change happening around about now. And looking at what other dyers are struggling with and companies, I'm thinking, do you know what? I did the right thing not switching it on. I will be shipping to Europe again, but after I come back from maternity leave. I need time to get it right. It's too big a thing to screw up. I don't want people ending up paying extortionate fees, or me doing something wrong and parcels getting burned or whatever they do. So yeah, so my work day, if you're asking about the Midnight Dyery, it happens at night. I'm very limited at the moment. My current work day looks something completely different. So if we sort of go back to before times, I would, if it was a day off from the day job, spend the day doing household stuff, might record a podcast, might do a bit of knitting, might do a bit of design work during the day if I had time. But then after we've had dinner and I spent some time with my husband and we've cleared up from that, when it's late and the dog is no longer under my feet and the cats have realised that they're really not getting any more food and have skedaddled out from under my feet, that is my time to play. And I love it. Although, I mean, you could argue that I need better lighting in the kitchen. Kitchen is my studio. My studio is the kitchen. It depends what's out. Sometimes it's both, which can be a bit chaotic. So I will typically have 3 colourways on the go at once. I use a stovetop to dye my yarn. I have big vats that I use, which I can fit, depending on the weight of the yarn, up to 6 skeins in at a time, depending on the colours I'm going for. So I'll typically have 2 of those going, and then my other favourite way to dye, my absolute favourite way to dye, is shallow dyeing. So I use big stainless steel roasting tins. Other dyes use bain-maries. I'm not quite at that level yet where I want to invest in that setup. I don't have the space for it. The thing is, I have to keep the roasting tins. I have to really squirrel them away because my husband is very great at finding my non-stick baking trays, the ones I make my lemon drizzle cake in, and using that to roast vegetables, or my actual dye pans. So that was an interesting one. So yeah, I can have those sort of setting in the oven and something going on the hob. And then I will spend some time. I might go live and share a dye session. There was meant to be one this coming Friday, but I've had to cancel that because my husband's doing his gamey thing. Yeah, and I'll just spend 2-3 hours. I can't dye in huge quantities. As I say, there's not actually the demand for it at the moment, but you can change that. Oh, plugging my business, is that a really horrible thing to do? Oh well, I've done it. And yeah, then it will all be left to cool naturally overnight, and then it will go into the bath. Typically the next morning I will dunk everything in a cold water bath, make sure everything's colour fast, of course, and then get them spun. I actually spin my yarns. They're all superwash yarns at the moment that I use, so they get spun in the washing machine to get rid of the excess water. And then they're hung out to dry on my heated area in the bathroom. So no room is safe from yarn. During the day, I will likely, if I have time during the day, then that's when I will do things like making ball bands, writing listings. Photography of yarns has to happen during the day. It typically happens on a day off from the day job. A day like today is great. Natural light in the garden, under cloud, and lots of faffing around occasionally with studio lights to help it along, and settings on my camera. So yeah, that's it really. It's not easy when you are running a business alongside running a home and doing a day job, but that's how lots of us start out. And as I say, I'm not quite at the point yet where I can give up the day job. Luckily I love my day job. It's like my dream job really. But you know, maybe one day I could take the Midnight Dyery full time. I would absolutely love that. But again, the attraction of working for myself is that I can build it around my life and my children. Okay. Ruth also asks, how do you manage self-care while running a business? I don't. I'm rubbish at it. Because my day job, although it's not my business, I am responsible for running that one. And I feel the weight of that responsibility a lot. I'm very, very passionate about the job that I do. If you don't know, I actually run a yarn shop. It's not mine. I don't own it. I just manage it. But basically, I'm kind of doing pretty much everything that I would if it was, apart from, you know, some technical stuff that I won't go into here. So it's very easy to get sucked into doing overtime and staying a bit longer, and then I come home, have to dash around sorting the dog out, the cats, I mean the dog's with me during the day, but sort the animals out, get food on the table. My husband's a pretty good cook. And you know, and then trying to find time to do the business as well. And actually the business needs to be a priority. You need to prioritize time on that, because it won't just work by itself. It's not enough to take a couple of pictures of pretty yarn and go, there you go. And you know, it doesn't happen like that, especially now with Instagram going to liking videos a lot more, and with everything being online, yarn festivals being online, it's like shouting into an echo chamber. It's yeah, it's been tough for everyone, I think. I'm not alone in this. I've got to be better at it for my own well-being and mental health. And actually that's something that this little one has forced me to do. It's forced me to slow down. Part of my self-care comes with the business in a way though. Dyeing yarn for me is something I'm really, really passionate about, and I love it, and it makes me feel good. So although when I was dyeing yarn with my friend the other week, she was really worried that I was overdoing it, I was like, no, this is good. This is good. I need this. And I felt so much better for it afterwards. And also the sip and stitch nights and coffee mornings I run. They're a form of self-care because I get to kick back with some of you and just craft for a couple of hours, totally guilt-free. So that's good. Walking is huge for self-care for me, and actually Magnus helps me. I'm pointing over there because he's stretched out on the sofa. He's like, Mum's not here anymore. Mum's sitting on the other chair. I'm going to take advantage, and he does. So yeah, long walks. On a Sunday when my husband's not working and I'm not working, so I normally work on the Saturday at the day job, I'll do coffee morning and then we will go for a long walk somewhere. And we're really lucky. If you go 10 minutes one way, you're in the town centre. If you go 10 minutes the other way walking, you are in fields, and it's great. So walking is a huge thing. I don't think that really answers the question. How do you manage it while running a business? Consciously. If you are lucky like me and your business itself, most aspects of it fulfill you, and then it can be a form of self-care in itself. But you need to build in that downtime for you. I've found being signed off the last few weeks to actually be brilliant for my patience and my stress and my sense of humour and all those things. I think it has to be very deliberate and conscious, especially in today's society where there's this kind of sense that you are 24/7 available, and there's a certain sense of social moral pride in hard work. But we're losing that line, I think, where, well done for working hard, but you're burning out. And more and more people are finding that they're burning out. It happened to me a few years ago after 10 years teaching. Again, a job I was really passionate about and just kept doing, because the more you do, the more there's always more to do in these jobs. Sometimes I just switch the phone off. I deleted the Instagram and Facebook app for a while at the beginning of the year. I thought that was fantastic. The book Logging Off by Nick Spalding is hilarious. I recommend reading that. So yeah, to answer your question, deliberately. Okay, P asks, what is your comfort knit? See, this is tricky to answer because I'm not finding much comfort in knitting at the moment. For the whole year, my mojo's just been through the floor. My go-to, what would I reach for? I suppose there's a little lad doing his hair in my car window. Oh, he's not quite so little. He's got a beard. Oops. In the past, it would have been like a granny square blanket or something like that. I know it's crochet and you asked about knitting, but socks are quite easy and mindless. I don't have to think about that too much. But yeah, my comfort knit is starting something new, I guess. I'm a big starter of things and not a great finisher of things, as you might know. I'd love to know your answers to these, by the way. If you want to chip in the comments, how do you manage self-care in a busy lifestyle? What's your comfort knit? Let me know. Pete also asks your favourite me-made item. It's the Lara's Legacy socks, hands down, every single time. I must admit, everything I make is then my new favourite thing. This is currently my new favourite thing. I'm proud of the fact I'm managing to finish garments, but it's always going to be the Lara's Legacy socks. Natty asks, what drew you to teaching initially? Okay, it's a kind of a sad story. It kind of sad as in like, oh. But I was very lucky in that my dad... No, let's phrase this differently. My dad, unfortunately, had really bad glandular fever when I was 2 and had quite a long time off work. And I was lucky in that he chose to use that time teaching me to read. So I was able to read independently from a very young age. And I'm not saying I wasn't like super clever. I could just read, and that meant I could access everything a lot faster for that age. I'm no different to anyone else now, certain intelligence wise. In fact, I'm probably bottom of the heap. But yeah, it meant that I often had a lot of time, certainly in infant school, twiddling my thumbs. And I remember, I was a horrible child. I remember being in assembly in infant school, and they stand up and they've got their little cards and they carefully read their bit to present in assembly. And this is normal and this is good and they're doing brilliantly. 6-year-old me was like, for God's sake, just read it. Didn't understand that not everyone could read like I could. God, that makes me sound so arrogant, doesn't it? I was 6. You think things when you're 6. And then I was watching my teachers helping them, and I felt sad that they couldn't read like I could, and I felt sad that they couldn't enjoy their work. And then I saw my teacher, my year 2 teacher, it must have been. Was it year 1? Can't remember, but anyway, Mrs. Richardson. And this was the early 90s, and I watched her, and she was so patient and really helped these children. And I was like, I want to be you when I grow up. And that was it, really. It was that kind of, she was my teachers were my magic weavers, basically. They opened this whole exciting world to me. And I just loved it. I used to role play teaching and, used to boss the kids around. In my cul-de-sac, there were a whole bunch of us kids that used to play together. And yeah, they do say you tend to role play what you're going to do when you're older. And it was teaching for me, and eventually after doing lots of work experience, lots of different things, and I realised that English teaching was going to be where I was happiest and where I could make the most difference. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm also really passionate about literacy. Literacy levels in the UK are woeful, and it's down to a load of different factors, socioeconomic deprivation, depends where your postcode is as to what sort of education you get and all that sort of thing. So I was a literacy coordinator and did some research papers on think mindsets. I became quite passionate about mindsets for teaching, because increasingly children are more aware now because obviously they can consume news a lot easier than we could as children. And they're aware of like the pressures of exams and things like that. So you're ending up with like little 11-year-olds stressed out of their trees about school, which isn't what it should be at all. So, I did some research papers on that. And I still teach now. I've taken my love of teaching and just put it into my new situations. So I'll often have someone round and teach them how to dye yarn, which I adore. One day I'm going to have a big studio in my back garden, and it's going to have space to do dye workshops and hen parties, not hen parties where you're sort of necking the vodka, but alternative ones where you can come and do something creative. And that's what I'd love to do. And I'm lucky that I still teach now. I teach at the shop. I teach courses, beginners and different skills, knitting and crochet, and I taught around Maidstone. A few people are were properly hooked on their knitting, having had a couple of lessons with me, a 4-week course with me. And so I'm very lucky in that in choosing to run my own business, I can combine the two things that I love. Ali asks, what's your nickname? I don't really have one now, to be honest. Most people call me Gemma, which surprises me because everyone just used to call me Gem. But now, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm more a responsible adult with a responsible job. People call me Gemma. I've been called all sorts of things. When I was born, I had a shock of black hair, and my grandma went, ooh, and spiked it all up. And so then I became known as Miss Tiggywinkle, who is the hedgehog from Beatrice Potter. I also have rather a large backside, always have done. I've got quite a curve in my back. And so Jemima Puddle Duck was another one. No, I don't think I've ever really had a nickname. I had a very unfortunate one at high school, which, looking back, it wasn't actually a nickname. I was just being bullied, but I didn't know because I didn't know the meaning of this word that they were calling me, to the point that I would happily introduce myself by, oh, and my friends call me. Yeah, I didn't know what it meant. So I don't think you can count that as a nickname either. What are your nicknames? Do you have nicknames, people? I'd love to know them. Where do they come from? So yeah, my mum occasionally still calls me Jemima or Puddle Duck. So I think I've been stuck with that for a few years now. And the final question I've got is from Sarah, who is one of my very first knitting students. And you know, I've since taught her to knit socks, and now she's knitting all the socks. And she says, how do you knit with a puppy? She's just got the most adorable new little spaniel puppy. And, or it might be, is it a spaniel? Or is it, it's got a spaniel of some sort in it. Yeah, you can. The answer is, and it's difficult with COVID, to be honest, is to knit with friends. When Magnus was tiny, he came straight away to knit nights at the yarn shop that I run. So initially we had him like his crate in the shop so he could sit in the safety of his bed. But he pretty soon learned that on the sofa on the shop was the place to be, because he could snuggle up on someone's project bag. And he was never short of someone to cuddle him, and that meant that people could knit and he would just sleep on their laps. But just do it when they're chilled, really. Make sure that they get plenty of playtime and walkies, and then, you know, hopefully a routine will happen. I mean, it used to be for me that because I took Magnus to work, he wouldn't really sleep much during the day. So when I got home, he would basically just conk out. Today, he's absolutely zonked because we went for a nice long walk this morning. And then at lunchtime, I went out and left him for an hour. Now, he's not normally left. I used to leave him quite a lot, but I don't anymore because of lockdown. I haven't been leaving him, so he's not very used to it. So he was quite stressed when I was out having my hair done at lunchtime, and he's as soon as he was satisfied I wasn't going anywhere again, he fell asleep. So that was that. So I hope you've enjoyed that question and answer session. I'm probably gonna have to edit it heavily, or I might not, might just leave it honest. Let me know your thoughts below. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this session with me. I'm sorry it's been so long. 2 finished objects and a bit of a chat ink bad though, and of course a giveaway too. So with that, I will let you get on with whatever you're doing. Have a very, very happy weekend, week, whatever, until I see you again. And yeah, take care. Bye.